Welcome back to All Things Creepy. I'm your host, Micah James. And this week we are talking about a personal fear of mine, and that is the ocean. This is a topic that I was hesitant to cover just because I wasn't sure how to approach the subject, because there's just so much I can talk about. Like, there's the Bermuda Triangle that I could talk about, Nemo's Point, different like shipwrecks, that kind of thing. And because there's just so much that I could cover, I decided to do a baseline of like, let me cover, 12 different facts. And we will go from there. Down the line, I will be talking about Nemo's Point and the Bermuda Triangle and ghost ships and all of that. But like I said, I wanted to start with a baseline. With that being said, this is the last thing before we really dive into the subject. If there's something specific about the ocean you want me to cover, please hit me up on Instagram, TikTok, email me, and now I am on Threads. It's the same thing as my Instagram at All Things Creepy Pod. All of that will be in the show notes. So let's dive right in, shall we? All right, so we're starting off with potentially the most well-known fact about the ocean. I just needed a jumping off point, so we're starting here. We know more about space than we do about our own oceans. Like, we even know more about the moon than we do about the ocean floors, which kind of makes sense because only about 5% of the ocean floor has been mapped, while only about 1% of the ocean has been discovered. So that means that there could potentially be thousands, if not millions, of creatures that we have yet to discover that live in the depths of the ocean that we haven't been able to find out yet. All right, so our next fact has to do with the sunlight. So the ocean is divided into different sections called abyssal zones, and with each descending one, there's less and less sunlight. In general, it can really only reach depths of 330 feet. There is still some sunlight when you reach 600 feet, but like comparatively, it's not enough to say that there is like even enough sunlight to see. The deepest part of the ocean, which is the Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench, sits at about 32,000 feet below the surface. So that means that a majority of the Earth sits in a constant state of darkness. This means that even animals who live in the deepest parts don't see, and they've adapted to this. There's a species of shrimp specifically that I read about that have evolved to the point where they don't even have eyes, because when you're living in constant darkness, why would you even need eyes? All right, our next fact has to do with deep sea vents and volcanoes. The lower you go into the ocean, the colder the water gets, as you can probably imagine. I mean, this just makes sense in general, since sunlight only reaches in general up to 330 feet. But like, if you ever feel the water like when you first enter the ocean versus like the deeper you go, it might even get colder. Just imagine how cold it can get, like just the deeper you go, like underwater. That being said, there are vents and volcanoes that can reach up to 700 degrees Fahrenheit or 317 degrees Celsius. That is so hot that it can melt your skin off if you get too close. They can also release magma that can turn into this white or black smoke-like substance. And if you remember, I did mention eyeless shrimp before. Those same eyeless shrimp use that for warmth because they've also adapted to the heat that comes from that to help warm them up since they live so deep in the ocean. All right, fact number 4 is super short, so I'll just get to the point with this one. But apparently, in just 1 millimeter of water, you can have 10 million viruses. But don't worry, Most of these viruses, if not all of them, tend to infect phytoplankton and bacterial cells. So your likelihood of getting sick from these viruses are low. Although I would still be careful swimming in the ocean, knowing that so many viruses are swimming around in there. For our next fun fact, we're talking about black holes. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Black holes are a space thing, but the ocean really does have a form of them too. Although when they are in the ocean, they're called eddies. Eddies are very similar to space black holes in the sense that nothing can escape them once something is in its past. To me, the scariest part is the fact that eddies can reach up to 93 miles in diameter, which, if I remember correctly, is about roughly the diameter of Los Angeles, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. I don't mind being corrected. Number 6 is about jellyfish. All right, so jellyfish in and of themselves aren't the scariest thing, possibly one of the least scary things of the ocean, but they're actually scarier than you might realize. The first being the fact that there are certain species that are, on a technicality, immortal. Like, they'll live for like hundreds and hundreds of years. The second is how deadly they can actually be. If you've ever been stung by one, you probably know how painful and itchy they can be, and thus are already aware of their venom. Most jellies are almost undetectable underwater, and those that are deadly use that to their advantage. It's believed that they have a way higher body count than sharks ever had. Because like once you get stung by the ones that are super venomous, you'd have to get to the hospital pretty fast. I mean, if just like, the one that just gives you a little welt isn't bad enough, that should give you enough caution around them. All right, number 7, shipwrecks and bodies. This one I could probably have split into 2 different ones, but with shipwrecks usually comes bodies. So that's why I put them together. Again, this one is probably pretty obvious or pretty well known to a lot. So because it's so well known, it might not be the scariest either. But I still think it's worth bringing up. The United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization thinks that there are an estimated 3 million wrecked vessels in the ocean, while space has claimed a comparatively small number, 4 vessels. As far as bodies go, I couldn't find any estimates for them in the ocean, but considering how many ships sank and other ways bodies could have gotten down there, it might be safe to assume that there are literally countless bodies down there. Although if I remember correctly, we might not even get an accurate estimate just because the way your body decomposes in the water is so vastly different than how you decompose on land. And I mean, just look at the way that the ocean eats away at ships down in the depths. Like, just imagine what they would do to your body. And now this kind of leads into our next fact: plane crashes. In most cases, you are able to survive a minor plane crash on land. And even then, if it's a bigger plane crash or you just otherwise don't survive it, the likelihood of you at least being found is pretty good, at least comparatively. However, when a plane crashes into the ocean, you're pretty much shit out of luck. The chances of drowning increase, and it's almost guaranteed that no one will find the plane or the bodies. And if they do end up finding any sort of hint of where you landed in the ocean, it's probably going to be too late. The next one is about the bloop. This one was once a sound that scientists couldn't explain. In case you don't know what the bloop is, it might not be the best quality, so I'll be linking a video that plays it, but yeah, I'm gonna play a short clip right now. All right, so I'll try to edit it so you can hear it a little bit better, but in case you couldn't hear it that well, it literally sounds just like a bloop. Like it sounds almost exactly like that. Like I said, I'll be linking a YouTube video so you can hear it better. For a while, scientists couldn't explain it whatsoever. While this is still hotly debated, it seems that the most likely cause of the noise was an iceberg breaking apart. But even with that explanation, the sound itself is still chilling, just because like you don't hear icebergs breaking apart that often. And when you do, it's usually above ground, and it's kind of what you'd expect. Although some still say that it might be some other creature that we haven't discovered yet. It could be like an animal that we thought have long been extinct. But I even saw some people say that it could be the Leviathan or Cthulhu. Next, we're talking about another animal that may not necessarily be scary on their own, and that is whales. After all, they are just animals living in their natural habitat, but they can actually be pretty scary. When they pass away, a whale's body can create a whole new ecosystem. On top of that, back in the day, I think I briefly covered this in my medical episode a few episodes back, but on top of that, back in the day, they used to use whale carcasses to help with tuberculosis patients. Our penultimate fact is about scuba diving. Sure, scuba diving can be super fun when you're on vacation. Besides, when will you be able to try it again? But much like anything that seems like a thrill, there are dangers that come with it. The deeper down you go, you need to be aware of the travel back up. You can travel downwards a lot faster than you are able to ascend. Because if you end up coming back up too fast, you'll get sick and suffer from decompression sickness, aka the bends, as well as nitrogen narcosis from excessive nitrogen to the brain. So you kind of have to be aware of not only how far you're going down, but as well as your oxygen levels, and just the fact that you have to come up a lot slower than you went down. And finally, I'm ending with this one. Not because it's super scary, but because it's a mystery. There's this place in the ocean called the Great White Cafe. It's this dead spot in the ocean where great white sharks meet once a year en masse. Usually these creatures are solitary, save for this meeting at what scientists have called the Great White Cafe. No one knows why they congregate in this place, but there are definitely two leading theories. The first is not so sinister. Some believe it's for some sort of mating ritual, and the other theory states that they come together at this quote-unquote cafe for a feast on giant squid. All right, so let me know if you want me to cover more ocean things like Point Nemo and the Bermuda Triangle. Although the thing about the Bermuda Triangle one, I might be covering that in my triangles episode. And if there's anything specific about the ocean you want me to cover in general, yeah, so all of my socials will be in the show notes, as well as the sources that I used for this episode. Otherwise, I will see you guys next week. Stay safe and stay creepy.